All right. Hi, my name is Andrew. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
First off, I want to tell you a little bit more about myself. I've been a social worker for a year. I have a wife and 2 kids. I have a bachelor's degree from Mansfield University. Okay, and I've been practicing here for a year. Okay. Do you have any questions for me?
No.
Okay. So before we get started, I want to let you know that everything that we say in this room is strictly between you and me. It's completely confidential, unless it sounds like you might hurt yourself or someone else. Do you have any questions about that?
No, I'm not going to hurt myself.
Okay, good. If you could, tell me why you came in today.
Well, I've been living with my parents for several years, and my dad has a problem with alcohol, and it really affects me and my mom and my sisters, and I'm trying to figure out how to get him some help. And, in getting him some help, we probably need some help too.
Mm-hmm. Have you, tell me, how does it make you feel when your father drinks?
Well, of course, if it made me feel good, I wouldn't be here.
Right.
But, it's just hard to watch somebody you love doing something destructive that affects everybody around them. He doesn't think it affects everyone, just him. And it's not like he drinks all the time. It's more like when he's drinking, he's fun to be around. It's when he's not drinking that he's miserable.
Okay. So it sounds like the drinking has really affected him and your whole family at the same time.
Yeah,
Immensely.
it does. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about things that he does while he's drinking?
Well, like I said, when he's drinking, he's a lot of fun. He's got a really great personality. He's a happy drinker, and life is good, and he wants to be around you and hug you and do nice things for you. But when he goes back to everyday life, he's very manic depressive. He's very verbally abusive, and it's just hard. It's hard to know when that's all you grow up with. It's hard to know what's normal and what isn't normal. But I don't like the feeling of being on eggshells all the time, because you don't know if he's going to yell and scream at you or if he's going to want to give you a hug. It's just a hard way to live.
Okay. And how does your other family members feel about your father's drinking?
Well, I think it affects all of us differently. I have one sister that kind of just hides in the bedroom and lives in a fantasy world all the time. And then I have another sister that kind of seems to be the scapegoat. Anytime he's angry, he takes his anger out on her. I'm actually probably his favorite, but I have a need to fix everything for everyone else, because I don't like seeing the hurt that it does.
Right. And it sounds like it's a really tough situation. How does your mom take your father's drinking?
Well, I think Mom just loves him so much, and she grew up in a different era where you just did whatever you needed to do to keep your husband happy. She's kind of like the June Cleaver. She just tries to keep everything peaceful so he doesn't go off.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very stressful on her. It's just, he's told us things like he was going to shoot her when we weren't at the house, and it's just, you're always living on edge.
Right. How does it make you feel when your mom kind of ignores your father's drinking?
Well, I wish that she would acknowledge it and push him a little bit to get some help, but when she tries to do that, then things just get worse around the house. So I think she tries to keep everything calm and peaceful so that it doesn't affect the kids so much.
Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't see that it really does affect the kids. Anyway.
Right. So, how often does your father drink?
Usually most weekends.
Weekends. So, when he's home during the week, his attitude is very different than on the weekends.
Yes. Like, he has to have the dinner on the table at 5 o'clock when he comes through the door. And if Mom forgets to put the salt and pepper on the table, then that'll set him off. You just never really know what'll set him off. You don't know whether he's going to walk in, had a good day, and be happy, or if he's going to like start throwing stuff and yelling and screaming at you.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult at dinner time because it's hard to eat because you're all upset. You don't know whether, it's going to be a good day or a bad day. And then lots of times, I think we all have eating issues because lots of times, if it's been a good day, then he pushes us to eat and eat more because that's kind of his way to show us he loves us. And if it's a bad day, then your stomach's all messed up, but he forces you to eat stuff anyway.
Okay. Do you think that it would be beneficial for all the sisters to get together and talk to him, or maybe just support your mom and you all do it together?
I don't know if any of us are courageous enough to confront him. It's like, I think we pray that just somebody will come in from the outside and he'll listen to them because, anytime... He does listen to me a little bit, but it doesn't change anything.
Right. So it sounds like it's been a real stressful situation on everyone, and you're not really sure how to make things better.
Exactly.
Okay.
What's hard is that it's very conflicting emotions because we know that he really loves us, but then he'll say things like that we're stupid or dumb or not worthwhile, and things that are really hurtful.
Mm-hmm.
But yet we know that he loves us, so you have very conflicting emotions. You never really quite know how to feel.
And honestly, when you live in a house with an alcoholic, a lot of people experience those same feelings.
Right.
But I really commend you on coming in today to talk, so we can kind of find a way to approach this.
Well, I don't know if there's an answer to making him see it and to get help. But if there's not, I need to know how to not let it affect me so badly.
Mm-hmm. What would you say is the biggest problem with your father's drinking?
Just how the mental abuse.
Mm-hmm.
How 1 minute, he's telling you how wonderful you are and how much he loves you, and the next minute what a loser you are and how you're not worthwhile. And it really affects your self-esteem.
And as far as his safety goes, does he drink and drive?
He has before. Not always,
Mm-hmm.
but at times he has.
So, what would you say if maybe instead of coming at him talking about how his drinking affects you guys, but maybe start off with how, for his safety, maybe the drinking needs to find some kind of compromise?
I think what's hard is if you approach it when he's not drinking, he kind of just blows you off.
Mm-hmm.
And if you approach it when he is drinking, he doesn't see it.
Right.
Like if I said, Dad, I don't want you to drive because you've been drinking, he would say, oh, I'm fine, there's nothing wrong with me. And if I tried to tell him when he wasn't drinking, I think it just makes him kind of angry.
Right.
So, that is an angle I might be able to try, but you have to wait till he's in the right mood to listen to you,
Mm-hmm.
which sometimes is hard to read.
And I can see where that could be a problem.
What would be helpful is if my mother, sometimes I get angry at her because she won't stand up to him. I understand why, because he can be very scary if he gets angry. But if she would not allow him to drive with us in the car, which she, sometimes it's easy to get angry at her for letting him do things that I now that I'm an adult think to myself I would never let my husband do that with my children.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you kind of fear for whether or not it'll make the situation worse.
Right. Have you confronted your mother about?
I have, and And her answer is always like, he's a really good man, you don't understand, you know, because she sees what a good man he is,
Mm-hmm.
and tries to just kind of overlook the flaws.
Right.
And I think that that was something from her generation too, that you kind of, where our generation's more likely to not be embarrassed by bringing things out in the open, and her generation was taught that, you know, you just don't acknowledge those things, you let them go, and you deal with what was good.
Right. And that's something that's normal from that generation, which you seem to understand. So one thing that I feel like we might be able to use to your advantage to help kind of diffuse the situation a little is that you have so many sisters, whereas if you kind of come together, maybe talk to your mom and say, hey, look, this isn't just affecting me, but it's affecting all of us.
Right.
Do you think that might be something that you could, how do you think that would work?
I think that she would see the problem. I'm not sure that she would do anything about it.
Okay. And what if you came as a group to talk to your father? How do you think that would play out?
Again, I think that he would possibly acknowledge that we were right. I'm not sure that it would change anything, but it's worth a shot.
So let me ask you this. Do you think that maybe he's not going to change at this point, and maybe you're just trying to find a way to deal with his drinking?
Yeah, I think that's, you know, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just the way that I don't like to be somebody who sees things as hopeless.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, I feel like nothing that we say or do would change who he is.
Okay.
But maybe it's worth a shot. And if not, I need to know how. You know, I don't want to be the person that enables, you know, is an enabler. My mom's definitely an enabler. And I see myself making excuses and being an enabler too. So I want to know how to break that cycle. Okay.
Well, for me, working with alcoholics before, I've noticed, which this may not work for you, but you know, I'm just giving you an example, is that once you have almost like an intervention and say, hey, this is really affecting everyone, the only person that can change is that person.
Right.
The only thing you can do is really just address it. So I'm thinking maybe if we try that and it doesn't work, then at that point we just kind of focus on you and how you can handle it. How do you feel about that?
I think that's a good plan.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want to sever the relationship with my dad completely, though I don't want to play into it anymore.
Right.
You know?
And that's a hard thing for anybody in that situation.
I don't want it to affect my children, even though, you know, he has so many good qualities that I want them to be able to benefit from.
And how directly does his drinking affect you at this point in your life?
Well, I think it's pretty much made me who I am. In some ways, it's made me better because I think I have insight that other people may not have. And it's something that I definitely would not follow in because I see how it affects the family.
So there are some positives and negatives
right.
for you. So
it has really affected my self-esteem.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of things I would do with my life or do in my life if I had the confidence to do them, which I don't have the confidence because I've been told for so many years that I couldn't do things. So I'm aware of that and I try to overcome it, but it still kind of affects my self-esteem.
Right. And I can see just by you coming in that you obviously have a lot of strength, a lot of inner strength, and that you seem like you really want to make a change, which is really good. Not just for yourself, but for others as well. One thing I'd like to do, at least with you, is maybe you could keep a journal of your thoughts.
Okay.
Just for a week before our next session, just on how your father's drinking is affecting you. You know, like if something comes up that you feel like is attached to that event or that problem,
right,
that you could just kind of jot down, so we can assess exactly where those feelings are coming from, when they come out, and then how we can work on them.
that's probably a good plan. 'Cause the biggest thing I think is the conflict of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know what feelings are normal and what feelings are, you know, what because of his drinking.
Right.
And in 1 minute you feel wonderful about him and you hate him at the same time.
Right.
So it's very hard to explain to anybody who hasn't been there how that feels.
And that's a really tough situation, and that's something that a lot of people go through with the same types of situations.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the session went pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we got a lot out. How do you feel?
Well, I feel much better for voicing what I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, my feelings are very conflicted all the time. So to hear myself say what's happening puts it in more better perspective for me.
Okay, well that's good. And like I said, you know, I really appreciate the strength that you showed by coming in to discuss it. It shows a lot of courage. And, you know, because of that, I think that we'll really be able to work on this. We'll start off with a journal like we had talked about, and then what we'll do is we'll go through that and we'll assess those when you come back in next week. How does that sound?
That sounds good.
Okay.
I think it's helpful just to have somebody to talk to.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm really glad that you came in, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
All right, thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Appreciate it. Sexy one?
Yeah.